redact, commercially sensitive information, which I understand.
Point of order, Chair?
What I do find,
I'm sorry, this is point of order. I'll stop the clock.
Was there any other opening remarks from any?
They haven't signed on yet. We're waiting for them to sign on.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Gang, what's up? Aaron, Canadian Looney. We're going to try to showcase two separate committee hearings on one video. First up, Rachel Thomas questioning the Bill C-63, the Online Harms Act. They're trying to take away all of our rights under the guise of protecting children. Who are they really protecting? Themselves. In the second round, we'll have Kyle Seaback demanding the redactions be uncovered. Why are they covering up what is going on? Iker Khalid, the problem child, is in that one. It's nutty. Anyhow, Kyle Seaback is great. Rachel Thomas is awesome as well. Let's take a peek.
My first question is for you, Dr. Dr. Polson-Holman. Sorry, I'm wondering if you can comment a little bit further, just in terms of, maybe we'll start here. Actually, on your website, you state that more than 95% of child sexual abuse cases in Canada go unreported, and I'm just curious as to why that number is so high.
Well, there's several reasons why that number is so high. First and foremost is that many children and teens who are sexually abused, this is happening with offenders who are very well known to them, family members, other people within their social circles that are offending against them. And so over time, they and or their caregivers have been manipulated and groomed, either in person or online. And oftentimes by the time that the offense takes place, or offenses oftentimes takes place, as there's been a lengthy period of time that they've been involved with certain activities and been exploited, and so they begin to feel that they are somehow partially to blame, or that there's embarrassment or shame. Oftentimes offenders will manipulate them and tell them that they will be hurt or their family will be hurt. So there's many reasons. I recently read a study, not a Canadian study, but that shared that adults, as child sexual abuse survivors, their first time sharing their offense is actually in their 50s. So I don't have Canadian stats on that, but there's many reasons why that number is as high as it is.
Thank you for your reflections on that. I'm curious if you can reflect maybe a little bit more on what are the harms, what unique harms, I guess, arise when the sexual abuse or grooming or exploitation takes place online versus in person?
I think there's many of the same harms. Obviously, significant impacts for safety, significant impacts to mental health and wellness, as we've talked about. I think the difference is that when there are things going on online, we don't know the extent to which this is happening, and it crosses borders. It doesn't just stay in the home or the community, but it can be transitioned halfway across the world, and the images are shared, and no one would know that. So, while there's similarities, and I don't think that one is better or worse, or, less disruptive or less disturbing, I think that the issue is really with regard to how far reaching it is.
Doctor, in your time with us today, if there was one thing that you wanted us to take away from our time with you, given your experience over many years, probably decades, of working with children in these vulnerable situations, what would be the thing that you would want us to take away?
I think understanding the level of concern. Oftentimes people think that this happens to other people or other people's children. This is happening. I guarantee that once you start talking about this and removing the barriers for communication and discussion around this, that the prevalence is very, very high. We know that 1 in 4 children, 1 in 4 girls, 1 in 6 boys under the age of 18 is sexually abused in some way. And we know that 95% isn't reported. So when we talk about the numbers, it's a very significant number, and we need to be taking it seriously and recognizing that this isn't about someone else's child. This is about all of our children, all of our teens, and within all of our families and communities.
Thank you very much for those reflections. Very much appreciated. A quick question to you, Mr. Clark. Just curious, you said that $11 billion is earned in ad revenue in the United States of America, but I'm just curious if you have any stats for Canada.
Unfortunately, I don't. I believe that was actually the total earnings of the platform, so that would include Canada as well. But I don't know what the Canadian ad revenue is for children, for media consumed by children under the age of 18.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, round 2. We've got Kyle Seaback. Point of order, Ikra Khalid, the problem child. Let's see if Kyle Seaback can get any answers despite the interference that Ikra Khalid, the problem child, tries to run. Here we go.
Mr. Seaback for 6 minutes, please.
Great. So, in your statement, you just said that you're trying to redact, commercially sensitive information, which I understand.
Point of order, Chair?
What I do find.
I'm sorry, this is point of order. I'll stop the clock.
Was there any other opening remarks from any?
They haven't signed on yet. We're waiting for them to sign on.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
IT issues. Sorry, go ahead, Mr. Seaback.
Thank you very much. And I respect that you're trying to make sure that commercially sensitive information isn't available. What I have found when I've reviewed this agreement, and in fact reviewed other publicly available documents like the CIF agreement 810-819553, which is related to the agreements that we're talking about today, is that the redactions are not consistent. And so what I want to understand is, if you're saying it's commercially sensitive, that's the basis for the redactions, then why is there sort of a lack of consistency between the redactions and the documents? So, for example, in CIF agreement 810-819553, you redacted the costs of the various the funding agreement, but in CIF agreement, the one that we're talking about here, 813-816-251, the dollar amounts in fact aren't redacted, and the dollar amounts of the other agreement are in that document. Like amendment number 2 of CIF 816-251 puts in the full amount of the $15 billion contribution. So it's not redacted in this document, but it's redacted in another. Can you explain that inconsistency?
A question. I don't have the other agreement that you're referring to with me. However, what I can say is that when we do get a request for documents for committees, in any case, we always approach the companies at the end of the day to make sure that we actually have a process in terms of understanding what they feel is commercially confidential and could be harmful to their competitive position. And we review that with the companies to make sure that in our assessment we also feel that there is some legitimacy to it being commercially confidential. In this case, as I've outlined in the letter to the committee, we feel that the information that is not included or that is redacted, maybe I should phrase it that way, is legitimately commercially confidential. So it's about IP strategies, it's about investments in R&D, investments in CapEx, which could actually give some sense to their competitors and give them some sense of what they're doing and could harm their competitive position. So it's a case-by-case basis. A company may feel over time that it no longer needs to be protected, and that may change. But as we do it on a case-by-case basis with each company.
Sure. Let's say I accept that explanation on CapEx and R&D and other things. But for example, in the document we're talking about today, 813 SIF agreement 813-816251, you've redacted the provincial funding envelopes. Like, how's that commercially sensitive? Like, you've got the federal SIF and then contributions from the provinces on page 19 and page 20. All of the provincial envelopes, funding envelopes, are redacted. How's that commercially sensitive? These are publicly available funding from the province.
Yeah. So my understanding in terms of what was redacted and not redacted is I think the amounts for all these funding envelopes were released. And what's
the amounts are there, but the actual programs where the monies are coming from are redacted. But these are public programs that would be available in estimates and other things. So, like, why would the programs be redacted? What's I don't understand. You said it's about being commercially sensitive. It seems to me it's inconsistent.
You have an answer. Yeah, please, Denis.
Okay. I can answer this. The redactions for the provincial breakdown of the contribution. It's not the title of the programs, but more about the locations of where that contribution will be dispersed. So which projects at which location will where the disbursement will happen.
So where the money's going is confidential, is a commercially sensitive, you determine to be commercially sensitive confidential information.
That is what, through consultation with the companies, that's...
And is that what the company requested? They requested that be confidential?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
So is the process that you go through, the company says we want all of these things redacted and you say yes? Or you say no, that's clearly not commercially sensitive, and therefore we're not going to redact it. I guess what I'm asking is, do you have discretion internally to determine what was redacted for the committee, or was this just whatever Stellantis or which other company said, we consider this commercially sensitive, therefore it needs to be redacted?
I guess what I can answer is that, it's a back and forth discussion we have with companies on a case-by-case basis.
Okay.
And we play a challenge function in terms of what a company requests to be redacted or not, and we have always in the past, and including in this case, found a reasonable landing ground in terms of what's redacted and what's not redacted.
And how many people in your department have access to these documents to determine the redactions, and what are their levels in the department?
Well, I have, in this specific case, I have the people beside me that were involved in those discussions.
That's it. No one else in the department. No one else had access to these documents than the 4 people sitting here today?
Access to the contribution agreement?
Yeah, the contribution agreement, the unredacted contribution agreement to determine the redactions.
So
quick answer, please.
There would be officers within the program that were involved in the negotiation and the development of these documents who would see those documents, yes. So there is a team within the department that works on all of our contribution agreements. But those are treated commercially confidential, and we don't share that information outside of the department without the consent of the company.
Okay. That is our time. We'll go to...
Oh, yeah.
We'll wrap it up right there, gang. Let me know in the comments what you think about Iker Khalid, Rachel Thomas, Kyle Seaback, the Stellantis contract, Bill C-63, the Online Harms Act. Are they just trying to take away all of our rights and freedoms? Sounds like it to me. Like, share, subscribe, get notified, leave a comment below. Let me know what you think about the state of Canadian politics going on right now under our Prime Minister of Carnage, Mark Carney. Thank you all for watching. We'll catch you in the next video. Ciao for now.